Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this dose of celestial goodness. As always, thank you for joining me in this space and on this journey. I hope that, you've all been doing well, and if not, I do hope that things are getting better. It has been 5 weeks since I joined you in this space, but the blog and the channel were never far from my mind. As I wrote up what I wanted to speak about today, I've been sitting in what for me is a space of peace. My mom made the comment recently that I'm living the things that I actually share in this space, the celestial goodness space. I'm taking my own advice, if you will. I'm drinking my water and resting and minding my own business in my sacred space. My home is indeed a sacred space for me. It's a safe sanctuary of peace and zen and tranquility. It's sort of like a chrysalis, allowing me room to evolve into the next version of myself. So as I write this, or as I wrote this, I was burning some incense, and there was like the scent of my favorite candles permeating through the air. I had a nice cup of hot orange blossom and cinnamon tea. Is one of my favorites. And I could look through the window and I could see the rain and the fog that come with a traditional fall day. And it almost feels kind of mystical. So when I'm home, chances are that ocean sounds are playing in the background, because the sound of water is very soothing to my spirit. And if I'm not, then I'm probably playing other music and dancing and singing because I'm just silly like that. And because dancing is amazing, absolutely amazing for your root chakra and for your soul. So I highly recommend, being silly in your home. So my plants are also thriving and teaching me some very important lessons about growth. So recently a number of the leaves fell off of my ivy plant and I sort of panicked. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was doing everything right. But my plant advisors, the plant aunties, they said it was fine. They were like, water it, pluck off the dry leaves, give it the right amount of water, and just leave it alone. And recently I've noticed an abundance of tiny new plants. They're green, they're vibrant, they're fresh. So my plants have really taught me that growth is also work. And each plant is different and needs a combination of certain elements to support their growth. Some love the sunshine, some love to be left alone. Celeste, which is my coleus, which is now mammoth, loves water, light, and attention. When she has those things, she really thrives. And when she thrives, she's just so magnificent to behold. And humans are really the same. So what is it that you need for your growth? And, growth has been a constant theme over the past few weeks, as is the topic of gratitude. So the two things really came together for me one day after a very long and glorious nap. Rest is one of the things that I have needed the most in recent weeks. Once the sun goes down, I too feel like going into hibernation. And at first I felt a little guilty because I like to be doing something. But I would tell any of my friends that rest is as much a part of the process as is taking action. And since I'm my own friend, I am taking my own advice. So there are seasons for a reason, and my own season said, go softly and sleep, it'll all get done. And that really helped my mind to feel clear and to see how much I'm growing and how much I've grown in gratitude. And as I've said before, it has been about 5 weeks since I made a post. Most of that time was during the eclipse season. I would be lying if I said that the eclipse season was gentle on me. It wasn't, but it had its little moments of reprieve. And I will say I didn't expect it to be gentle. Having read the astrology, I knew that there was room for me for a lot of, deeply transformative, like facing off with myself, like questions, like how do I show up for myself? Questions about that surrounded my fears, abandonment issues, and other taboo topics. They crept in very heavily. And all of this really required like deep internal excavation. And that kind of heavy lifting requires deep rest. And it was the season for me, and it still sort of is, of deep rest, deep internal transformation, reflection, grief, and gratitude. And I include grief here because when we lose anything, even and especially an older version or part of ourselves, it also feels like a death of sorts. And, we are allowed to grieve what once was. We should grieve the things that need grieving, and we should do so well, so that the energy doesn't internalize itself and manifest itself later in ways that we do not desire. So one of the things we can always be assured of is that after the night, there will always be the dawn. And so recently I felt myself sort of emerging from my chrysalis, emerging from the eclipse energy. And when we do deeper work, the deeper work to get to know ourselves, it really does pay off in how you feel. You feel lighter and freer and just more confident that, you have everything that you need to face all of the unknowns of life. It'll never be perfect, right? But it's like nice to know that you can feel secure in facing an unknown future. And as I was writing up what I wanted to talk about today, I actually got a call from one of my dearest friends. And she's all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, and she called to read to me from a card that I wrote to her in 2017. The card spoke of growth. It spoke of reflecting on my journey from a little girl in rural Jamaica to someone who has access to spaces and places that I do in my day-to-day life. And there are really no coincidences, and I shed a tear and I told her how much it meant to me. And just how funny it was that, I don't know, she just tapped in and knew that this was a topic on my mind. But our friends, I feel like, can sense when we need a reminder. And I'm so grateful for my friends who have always gone above and beyond in showing me love. So I'm at a similar place in my life to where I was when I wrote that card, but I can see the growth, sort of like the spiral on a shell. And for that, I'm very thankful. And that being said, the last few weeks were also beautiful times, like the best of times, worst of times, that kind of Charles Dickens vibe. But I traveled with my mom to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, for the wedding of one of my dearest friends. I just could not miss that wedding, and I'm so delighted that mommy got to come with me. We rested, we ate well, we splashed around in the sea. Sometimes I splashed too much. We danced, we laughed, and we really got to explore the Puerto Vallarta area, which is now probably in my top 5 places that I've gone to in the world. And we just got to spend some much needed one-on-one time together. These are moments that I will definitely treasure forever, so it was very special. So two highlights were visiting the botanical gardens. I love gardens as it is, and this one was truly top tier. I mean, it even had a river running through it, a clear and beautiful river that was like running into the mountains, and an amazing restaurant, which probably had the best Mexican food that I've ever eaten in my life. It also had an abundance of beautiful birds. And if you know me, you know that my future is in birding. Like when I retire, I am definitely like a birder already. So they also had hummingbirds, which are birds that I love. The other highlight was visiting the magical butterfly garden sanctuary. Getting there was an adventure, but it was just so worth it. You know, we learned so much about the life of butterflies and moths, and I felt some resonance to this notion of transformation. Transformation is a delicate but very beautiful process. And I also learned about the green malachite butterfly, which is now my second favorite butterfly next to the blue morpho. So I think the biggest takeaway though for me was that growth does not always come without its obstacles, but we must certainly appreciate the journey to get where we are today. We have to celebrate, you know, what it has taken to get to this place and this phase of our life, like, you know, celebrating the actual journey. We started somewhere, much like the egg that became a caterpillar. And did you know that caterpillars actually eat their body? That sounds really weird to say, but when it's ready to shed the old skin, it actually eats that for nutrients. So it eats the exoskeleton. And then when it's in the chrysalis, it has already eaten everything that it needs to survive the journey. So nothing is wasted with butterflies. And I think in a similar fashion, nothing that we have gone through in our lives is wasted. It's just that we can't always see that in the moment. Hindsight really is 2020. And Soren Kierkegaard said, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. So keep moving forward, but let the lessons from the past propel you along your journey. And all of this is to say that as I've been reflecting, I've been immensely thankful, filled with a deep reverence for life, filled with gratitude for the ways in which I can see my own growth. Maybe I handled a situation differently. Maybe certain things don't bother me like they used to. Maybe I'm more patient. That's a hard maybe. Maybe I can approach something and someone from a more loving and compassionate place. And maybe I can understand something in a different way, in a way that helps the situation to pan out more peacefully. We can also look at growth in terms of where we are. You know, once upon a time, I was a student in many ways, and there are a lot of things that I can now share as a teacher. And that doesn't mean that I'm no longer a student. I think we're lifelong students. Life is always teaching us, and teachers are always appearing. But it does mean that I can appreciate my own life experiences and just really say, wow, you know, like, thank you, life, for getting me to this place. And as I'm rolling up very soon on a new decade of life, I really am eternally grateful for the people and the places and the experiences that have helped to shape me. These are the elements that have watered me and given me light or shade, and that have helped me to grow. And I hope that, you know, you will take a moment to just reflect on where you've been, the journey so far, and to celebrate the victories and the defeats, because both have been instrumental to your growth. In one of my favorite books, The Warrior of Light by Paulo Coelho, he says, "The warrior of light is a believer. Because he believes in miracles, miracles begin to happen. Because he is sure that his thoughts can change his life begins to change. Because he is certain that he'll find love, love appears. Now and then he is disappointed. Sometimes he gets hurt. Then he hears people say, "He's so ingenious." But the warrior knows that it is worth it. For every defeat, he has 2 victories in his favor. All believers know this. So I hope, that the stars shine brightly over your week. I hope that it is an immensely beautiful week filled with opportunities for you to see your growth and to see just how miraculous life can be. Thank you.